everybody. Welcome to Gnyp Gnop on another Friday. It is the 25th of June. And before I even before I introduce anybody, though, I got to do this really quick. Tina, happy birthday.
Hey, happy birthday, Tina.
It's my sister's birthday today, and I love her. So there you go. Okay, so I am Greg Gnyp. I am Gnyp, as you can tell from Greg Gnyp.
Yes.
That's Chris Uzinski. He is the Gnop.
That's right.
How are you, my friend?
I am better than the average bear. I got my second vaccination this week.
And thanks to you, I have my second vaccination, so I have to say thank you very much. I really, truly do appreciate you looking out for me.
Cheers, buddy. Cheers.
So congratulations to being the double prick club.
That's right. Hey, you know what? I mean,
we've been called that. We've been called pricks before.
Yeah, for a long time. But, you know, I used to think that when this whole thing was kind of rolling out at the beginning of the year, I kind of thought, oh, maybe by August, maybe by September, we'll all get there. But, hey, you know, end of June, I'll take it.
Well, and you know, and I love all the armchair experts. And this is one of the things that I love. It's like everybody's sitting at home going, well, you know the way I would have done it. I would have had this, and we would have had 65 million doses by February. And I'm like, well, no, we probably wouldn't have, because if you were the prime minister or the premier of Ontario, you probably wouldn't have been able to do what you're saying anyways. You know, so it's like I'm right now. You know what? Did they do some mistakes? Of course they did.
Yeah.
But hey, it's not like they had a blueprint on how to deal with a pandemic, because let's see, it was in 1918.
Yeah, I mean, look, there already was a pandemic in 1918, 100 years ago, but we also had SARS, right? So, I mean, there was a bit of a playbook, but I think a lot of that got thrown out because it was so small and regionalized. I don't think it wasn't a global pandemic or endemic at that time. So,
you know, it's okay. We're here. We're getting closer and closer to the end, or at least a more normal society. We can handle it. So you know, with that being said,
yes,
in honor of our happiness towards that, what are you drinking?
I am drinking, again, you know, I'm kind of a premix kind of guy and really kind of enjoying it. So this is Absolute's Mango Mule.
Nice.
Yeah, you know, I haven't tried it yet. I just picked it up. I thought, oh, you know what? It's pre-mixed. It's effervescent. And nothing says summer like a mule anyway, right?
No, that's exactly. See, and what I'm doing is I decided that I needed a little bit more caffeine.
Oh.
So I've got I think it's PJ's caramel liqueur. Like, it's a caramel cream liqueur, and it's in my coffee. So I'm having a caramel coffee right now with a kick.
Yeah. You know, and the other thing, too, I just found out was that, you know, Bubbly, which is owned by PepsiCo, is now coming out caffeinated in the United States. I haven't seen any caffeinated here in Canada, but cheers to that.
I like that idea.
I do, too.
Because that's actually a really good thing to mix with vodka.
I would think so. Hey,
not that I've ever tried it.
So, you know, you and I are both huge fans of live entertainment, live music.
Oh my God, yeah.
And the arts. And you know, I was really thrown back earlier this week. I got an email from our good friends over at Live Nation and St. Andrews Hall in downtown Detroit. You know, we spent, I don't know how many thousands of shows you and I have seen at St. Andrews Hall. We should get Amir on one of these days and talk about the old days of St. Andrews.
That's if he still remembers them. You know.
Well, maybe he can help us fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was really kind of thrown out by, I'm actually going to kind of read the email of, you know, the stuff that's coming on sale soon, right? So at St. Andrews, the Struts, you know, we've got Pop Evil, POD, the Ex-Ambassadors, Lawrence, Mr. Wives. Like, I was just really kind of floored. It's been so long since I've seen such a great lineup of acts coming in, and I'm just like, wow.
Well, and,
cool.
And the other thing is, and the thing that's getting me is also some of the crazy festivals that they're coming up with too. There's one out in California where it's like Blondie and more. It's like every 80s late 70s, 80s, and real early 90s band that you can even think of. They're playing, I think, the Hollywood Bowl or something like that. I don't even remember where it is. But the lineup is absolutely incredible. And, it's anything from Blondie to Morrissey to The Damned to, whatever. And I'm like, man, I'm wondering if I can make a trip,
Yeah, right.
I might,
splurge.
Fly out there, go see a show. I mean, that would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I know.
So, So, by the way, just really quickly, I got to do this again to all my my Habs fans. Since 1993, babies, we're going to the finals. See, it was all because I wore my jersey last time.
Whatever. hey, talking about kind of filling in the cracks of our young youth. Going to St. Andrews Hall. We have a special guest who's coming on today. His name is John Bryja, and John's been a dear friend of ours for, Christ, it's got to be 30 some odd years. And John has a really unique take on a lot of things going on in the world because of what he does for a living. John, welcome to Gnyp Gnop, buddy. John?
Hey, good afternoon.
There's his unique take. I'll talk when I'm ready.
So we all went to.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. We all went to university together, and the funny thing about John is.
Wait, did any of us graduate?
I did. It took me 17 years, but I did.
I did. Hand up.
Yeah.
So
did any of us graduate in the proper amount of time?
Oh God, no. Oh God, no. I was kicked out of university so many times. I even lost count. Cheers. So John is the editor and publisher, editor-in-chief of a really interesting magazine. It's called Kitesurfing. John, almost went to the Olympics. He was a very, very competitive windsurfer at the time, and he's now the. You've owned this magazine for what, 7 years, 8 years?
About 6 years now.
Oh, 6 years, yeah, and
6 years.
You were an editor as well for another magazine, and you've been in the aquatics business for quite a long time. I always found that fascinating. You live up in Owen Sound, and it's kind of funny that the epicenter of the kiteboarding world is out of your office in Owen Sound, even though a lot of it happens in Hawaii and East Coast, some West Coast as well. How do you balance that?
Well, I get to do a little bit of traveling now, or no traveling now. It used to be a lot of traveling, and just as I started the magazine, that was in the day and age of email was first being invented. So one of the guys at the office would print out the morning emails for all the staff, and you go through your email, and that made connecting with everyone easier.
Wow.
And lots changed since then.
Yeah. So look at kiteboarding is, again, not necessarily a regional sport, but a pretty difficult sport to get into. What happened during COVID with boards and kites and windsurfers and...
It's really a different tale depending on where you live and where you ride. It definitely became a very localized sport where people had to ride at their local beaches and they weren't able to travel to the Caribbean or go on the holidays that they were used to going on. The actual industry sold a lot of hard goods, a lot of kites, a lot of boards got sold for people riding at their local beaches. But probably the biggest hurdle that everyone had was the local beaches got really crowded just north of Toronto. And a lot like most of the beaches at Lake Simcoe got closed down to riders coming up from the city. So it definitely, access became a pretty big challenge locally here in Ontario. But I'd say internationally and around the world, the sport's actually booming right now with people just getting lots of time on the water.
Is that a reflection of people having more time, or is that a reflection of what? Hey, John.
Yeah, I'd say it's people having more time and people having having the gear that works in their local conditions. So people would buy bigger kites so that they could ride in the lighter wind conditions at their local beaches, and then also the sport of foil boarding, where you have a hydrofoil under your board, helps you go in lighter conditions. So that definitely helped people maximize the amount of time they had on the water.
Yeah.
So being in Owen Sound, and of course, people doing it in the Caribbean, they're doing it in Hawaii, they're doing it, all over the place, taking these big vacations. Is there kind of because sometimes people go, well, what does this guy in Owen Sound know? We're here in California. I mean, is there like a weird a little bit of a battle between the different areas between the different borders? Our area is better. We know this. The blah blah. You hear with surfers going, the best rides are in Hawaii, and then somebody says, no, the best rides are over here. Is there a regional battle with kite surfing?
Not really. There was definitely a big battle style-wise probably 15 or 20 years ago between the European style of riding and the North American style of riding, which was more, the North American style was more boots and wake style of riding and riding strapless on surfboards. Whereas in Europe, they were more into freestyle riding. So those are two very different parts of the sport. But in North America, there isn't really the same amount of regionalism. And our contributors and photographers are based pretty evenly across North America, across the states, California, Hawaii, Florida. So I could pretty much be located anywhere in the world in this day and age and connect with all of the contributors. It definitely takes a lot of travel to stay really connected with everyone, but
Right.
just in this day and age of instant communications through text and email, it's pretty easy to stay in the loop on everything.
Is publishing a magazine these days, is it easier now than it was 10 years ago because of technology, or even with the decline of publications? Where's the industry at for you?
Well, it's definitely doing about 150 times more work between social media, websites, videos, and publishing. The actual print side of the business has become probably 20 or 30% of the actual work, compared to 20 years ago when the actual print magazine was 100% of the day-to-day activity, and we were getting paid a lot more per page back then. So we're definitely doing a lot more with less resources. We don't have the huge editorial budgets to pay photographers what we used to pay them back in the 80s and 90s. I think that's definitely, I think photographers now are relying more on income through videos and income through photo shoots for the different brands. And that's a pretty big shift where...
Well, it's got to be tough for the photographers too. I mean, you had something like the New York Times a couple of years ago. It's for, the front cover picture was from an iPhone. So there's a lot of, photographers have to compete with a lot of people who have really good iPhones, or, are picking up other cameras that are able to catch things. I know my ex-wife was a photographer, and, sometimes she would get asked to shoot, a wedding, and she'd go, all of a sudden there'd be somebody in front of her, and she'd be like, listen, you're not the photographer, but I mean, now, will you take stuff from other people? Say if I caught an amazing photo, I could send, or do you like to stick just with those professionals?
You definitely want to go with the best shot, and the reality is the iPhones really aren't still at the same level as a professional camera with using professional glass on the camera body. Like a $10,000 lens on a $3,000 body gets an image that, and when it's taken by a really good photographer, the images are they're second to none. They really just don't compete. So it's definitely, it's unfortunate that the amount of marketing money that actually gets spent on photography now is probably, it's a fraction, it's probably less than half than it was 20 or 30 years ago. So it's definitely a much more competitive space for the photographers to make a living.
John, look, I know you and I both had a passion for windsurfing early on, but is it the passion that you translated into becoming a contributor, which translated to become an editor, became an owner of a magazine? Like, is that the way you got there?
Yeah, it was back in high school. I really loved the windsurfing magazines, and
yeah,
my dream job would have been to have been an editor of a windsurfing magazine, but there was only 2 titles in North America, so I thought that was something I'd probably never get to do. was pretty sure I'd get into the film business, which is the industry that my sister works in.
Right.
A lot of friends work in that business. But then after university, I pursued my windsurfing passion, did the 4-year Olympic campaign,
Right.
competed a lot, and started working a little bit more with Windsport Magazine, which ran clinics, and became one of their instructors. And that was how I first got involved with them. I knew Steve Jarrett, the owner of the magazine, quite a bit through racing, but got a bit more involved through the clinics and teaching. And then a job opening happened after I finished my Olympic campaign in '97. Jumped on board then, and then started kiting a couple of years after that, and there was really no looking back.
Nice. Hey, what are you drinking, by the way? You drinking anything?
Well, I'm going to give a shout out to Mudtown Station, which is our local brewery up here.
Jesus, look at Bryja's coming prepared. Look at that.
Yeah,
It's big.
one little
But
beer.
Seeing as I had a shot of Moderna yesterday, I'm actually not drinking the IPA today. I'm actually having something a little bit more athletic and having a sober Carpenter right now.
A sober
Which is very
Carpenter.
IPA, but
Where's that from?
it's tasty. I don't know. Quebec, maybe?
Okay.
So, all right, so
Made in Canada somewhere.
There you go.
Now, like you were saying about being in the film industry and wanting, stuff like that. Did you ever think? I mean, and is it even something possible? Is it something that could even happen? Warren Miller used to do all the big ski films. The crazy ski films of all the guys going down the big hills and things like that. Do you think there's a market for that, for say surfing, kite surfing, boarding, things like that? Would that be anything that you would ever consider doing?
Sort of at a different level. Like, I'm definitely not in the movie production business at all, and there are definitely some pretty good movie people in the video part of the business right now. So we play more of a role of either aggregating the material, or I'd say our biggest role in the sport right now is actually gear tests. So we're definitely shifting more towards doing more gear testing videos, and that's going to be a big focus of the magazine group over the next 2 or 3 years. But yeah, it's been really interesting watching the whole transition of the whole video side of the sport, because there used to be 2 or 3 guys making a 45-minute video each year, and they were making a living doing that, and you'd look forward to the 2 or 3 videos that came out each year. And that's really transitioned to the pro athletes actually making their own videos, or the brands making shorter 2 or 3 minute long videos. And it definitely seems like there's been a change in the way that people are consuming a lot of the media. They're looking for really short 2 or 3 minute bits. So I'm hoping that's going to start to change again, where people will start watching longer
Feature.
documentary feature length, like 40-minute films.
Right. So, a couple questions early on. Favorite show at St. Andrews?
Oh man,
Greg, do you have a favorite?
there was we saw so many there. It's hard
That's
to
like
nail it
saying,
down to one.
can you name your best orgasm?
Oh, we just lost John.
Speaking of orgasm, no, I honestly, if my favorite show at St. Andrews Hall, that's wow, I don't know how to say that.
It's a tough one, eh? Oh, there he is. He's back.
There he is.
There you go. Yeah, so St. Andrews Hall back in the day, like the downstairs at the shelter for $5. That was. I think
Wednesday
we
nights.
managed to tie in a couple of Wednesday nights, and we'll go upstairs and catch a show.
So
I don't think I could nail it down to what you guys dragged me across to a lot of shows over there, and there was a lot of good bands.
A lot of
and
great
actually,
bands.
you know what? Can I? This is probably 30 years late, and I probably should say this to you. You may have actually saved my life once, John. We had gone to the St. Andrews Hall Wednesday nights, $5 all you can drink. I was in the back. I was in the front seat because I was that drunk in the passenger seat. We dropped you off at the university. You were living on campus. I got out of the car, lay down on the ground, and then you came and camped with me. And I woke up to a University of Windsor security guy nudging me with his foot. And you had come down with a blanket, covered me up, and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Camping." and I went up, and I think I finally got home at like 3 in the afternoon after sleeping it off. So there you go. Thank you.
Camping.
Hey, that was good times.
Well, and if you think about it, right, back in those days, if you asked them what kind of beer it was, the beer, the right, it just said beer.
It was yellow.
Like it was, yeah, you didn't know what kind of beer it was. The vodka just said, like, Mohawk was their high-end vodka. So, I mean, we don't even know what we were drinking.
Right. And for people who don't understand, it was a $5 all-you-can-drink Wednesday night at the shelter. And literally, it was just exactly what you think it is, a mess.
And do you remember how angry everybody got when they raised the price to $6? It was like, how dare you charge us an extra dollar for 10 more drinks? It was good times. Yeah, it was, but it was fun. I mean, but we had a chance to go see some great shows together.
Yeah, and I think that was really the real key was, because regionally, within the Windsor Detroit market, it was so easy to grab a bunch of people, jump in the car, go see a show for less than between $5 and $10, go see a band in Detroit and come back and see a world-class show. It was really convenient. I mean, that was the beauty of living in a border town.
And it was so different back then, right? We could say, hey, John, we're leaving right now. And, you could bring your blood card, your blood donor card and your student ID and cross the border. They'd go, all right, yeah, you're Canadian? All right, going across. It was just such a different time back then.
And you could do multiples, right? Like we would go over for lunch to Xochimilco's, come back, and then go see a show that night. And, you could do multiple entries. Today, try to go do multiple entries into the United States or Canada, right?
Yeah, it makes it a lot tougher. So basically what we're trying to say is when the border opens, John, we're going to have you come down here and we're going to do the old man adventure, except, it won't be $5 all you can drink. It might be, let's have two drinks.
That's for sure.
So what's on the future? Future plans for you? What do you got coming up?
Well, I'm really looking forward to traveling again. Got a trade show in Hood River coming up in September. Hopefully the border opens back up for that. And then be heading back down to North Carolina, to Cape Hatteras and the Outer Banks for 2 weeks of gear testing, end of October, beginning of November.
You've been doing that for like 20 years.
This pandemic was the first time in pretty much 25 years that I didn't spend spring and fall in Cape Hatteras.
Right.
So it was a bit of an adjustment.
Yeah, it's everyone's adjusting, man. Everyone's business has been affected in one way or another, and we try to work through it, but who knows how it all ends up.
There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and that's what I keep telling people. I said, there's that light at the end of the tunnel. Just keep looking, and I promise you that it's not the train.
John, buddy, cheers, man. Say hi to Barb and the kids, and great having you. Nice seeing you.
Always a pleasure, my friend. And listen,
Thanks for having me.
Please come down and visit us, and we'd like to have an adventure one day.
One of these days.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I can't wait to get back over to Detroit with you guys. Be good fun.
You bet.
We'll take you on an adventure, my friend.
See you, John. Thanks.
All right. Cheers.
Oh, such a great guy.
Yes,
such a great guy.
What a great life too, though.
Yeah.
Going down to North Carolina. How come we never got to do things like that? Instead, I had to go to, I'd have to go to, downriver sometimes and be in some smoky bar. He was on the beach kite surfing.
Yeah, yeah. Or giving lessons to folks in downtown Toronto, right?
Yeah.
On Lake Ontario. Yeah.
Hey, more power to him.
Good for him, yeah. Good to see, good to hear. So always a pleasure. But you know what? That's it, man. That's another edition of Gnyp Gnop.
Always a pleasure, Chris.
Always a pleasure. Be well, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Stay healthy.